Hi,
Hello,
everyone.
everyone.
Hi, this is Ruthie with Congressman Bowman's office. Nice to see you all here today. We'll get started for at 6 p.m., but I wanted to just do an audio check and make sure that our interpreters are all set up. So first, let's start with an audio check from Dennis. Would you like to unmute?
Yes, good evening. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, this sounds great.
Thanks so much.
And once it's your turn to present, feel free to turn your camera on as well. We have people joining on Zoom and then also via phone.
Okay, will do.
Okay, great. And Yogarina, would you like to unmute?
Hi, good evening. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, that's great. Thanks so much.
Perfect.
And I see two interpreters have joined. Are you both all set up with what you need?
Hi, yes, my name is Barbara. I just had a couple of questions. The first is, do y'all have a bilingual staff person who will be making the announcement around interpretation for participants?
That's a great question. Ashley, would you be willing to hop in at the beginning and read from the screen the announcement?
Yeah, sure. I could definitely do that. I just wanted to name that we would then have to wait to turn on the interpretation equipment. Otherwise, only some participants will hear me and not others.
Got it. I'm wondering if there's anybody on our staff who would be willing to hop in at the beginning. I can turn to you quickly to say what's on the screen. Is that an option, maybe Ashley?
Hi, this is the other interpreter, Julieta. If you wanted, I can right away at the beginning just read what it says, and then you can switch on the interpretation feature if that's not too much, or someone else in your staff, and we can just start the meeting with the interpretation feature on.
That sounds great. Malia, does that work for you tech-wise?
Yeah, that works either way for me.
Okay, great. So maybe like someone will say like, hi, good evening. And then, I'll say this right away about the screen. And then you said, Malia, I could send you like a direct message or, let you know that I'm ready.
Okay, that works.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
In the meantime, I did want to suggest maybe we could turn the equipment on just to make sure it works and then turn it off before the presentation starts.
Okay, let me turn it on now. Okay, so it's on. I believe it's working because they're in the other room now. Oh, someone hop on the Spanish channel. I will join from my phone. 1 second.
Yep, I can hear you on the Spanish channel.
The interpretation feature back off. Yeah, cool. Yay. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Hi, and good evening, everyone. Welcome to the IDA Resources Town Hall. We're going to start with a message from our Spanish interpreters.
Hi, good afternoon. I'll read the following message in Spanish. Muy buenas tardes. Tenemos interpretación en español disponible hoy. Si necesitan traducción en español, por favor haga clic en el botón de interpretación en la parte inferior de la pantalla y seleccione Spanish para acceder al audio en español. Si es que tienen algún problema con interpretación, por favor déjenos un mensaje en el chat y muchas gracias. Okay.
Great. Thank you so much to our Spanish interpreters who are joining us tonight for live interpretation. And welcome again to the IDA Resources Town Hall for New York 16. Thank you all for joining us this evening. Tonight we'll have Congressman Bowman introduce himself in the office and all of the work that he's been doing to support our constituents through this really difficult time. He is joined by a few panelists, including Dennis Del Borgo, who's the director of the Office of Emergency Management for Westchester County, Yokorina Duarte, who's the director for Intergovernment Affairs at the New York City Office of Emergency Management, and Stephanie Dunn Ashley, who's the CEO of the American Red Cross Metro New York chapter. Thank you so much to all of our panelists for joining us today and discussing further resources in addition to those offered by the federal government. If you have any questions during the town hall, you can submit them through the question and answer box if you are joining in via Zoom. If you are joining in by phone and you have a question, you can feel free to head to bowman.house.gov and put a question in an email to him. We're also available for follow-up tomorrow and throughout the week, however we can be helpful. If you have any questions about your individual case, we encourage you to email us at bowman.casework@mail.house.gov. Now I will turn it over to Congressman Bowman. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you all so much for being here. Really appreciate it. We know how difficult a time this is for everyone on this call. I had the chance to pretty much visit every corner of the district that was impacted by Hurricane Ida. I visited houses of worship, visited small businesses, visited homes that were destroyed, basements that were destroyed, people who lost their vehicles in the flood. And unfortunately, as you all know, some people lost their lives and family members as well. So it is not lost on me how difficult a time this is for all of you personally, on top of everything we've all been dealing with in terms of COVID over the last 18 months. I visited New Rochelle High School, which is not able to open due to the flooding that took place, and now the kids are staying home a bit longer. So we're all going through a lot, and I just want to, just recognize our first responders who were there throughout the storm, literally saving lives while our communities were being flooded. Had a chance to meet with firefighters in Mamaroneck the day after the storm and got to talk with them and hear, what they went through. And then I walked down that major avenue in Mamaroneck to just tour some of the small businesses that were destroyed and people who have worked their entire lives to build a small business. Some have been through, particularly in Mamaroneck and Rye, which is another place I had a chance to visit. They've been through the storm in 2007, went through it in 2011, and now going through it again in 2021. So very grateful for the hard work of our local and state officials as well. We have been in consistent communication with them throughout this process. We've been communicating up and down government because obviously we need a whole of government approach. So we've been in communication with the White House, the governor's office, as well as local and state officials. As we know, let's go to the next slide. Thank you very much. So we're in the process of mobilizing for federal relief right now as we speak. So after the storm passed, local, state, and federal officials, including myself, immediately began conducting damage assessments, as I mentioned. These assessments were expedited in Bronx and Westchester counties, given the impact of the storm in these areas. Damage assessments are an important first step of the post-disaster process because they provide the data to request federal aid from FEMA. And my team will go into all of those details throughout this webinar. In the days immediately following the storm, I led the New York delegation in sending 2 letters to President Biden in support of further federal relief based on the results of the damage assessments. The first letter encouraged him to expeditiously approve Governor Hochul's request for an emergency declaration. The second letter with Rep. Meng encouraged further federal relief. These letters were bipartisan and included our Senate colleagues, which was obviously very helpful. And you can see there, I was with our Senate colleagues, Gillibrand and Schumer, at the press conference. On September 5th, the president approved Governor Hochul's request for a major disaster declaration, triggering access to FEMA assistance for individuals, households, businesses, houses of worship, schools, nonprofits, and local governments. We could go to the next slide, please. Thank you. So want to briefly discuss the different types of assistance. So under the major disaster declaration, FEMA has 2 buckets of assistance it offers, one stream for individuals and households, and the other for local governments and certain nonprofits. Individual assistance provides housing assistance, including repairs, temporary housing, and moving assistance, childcare assistance, transportation assistance, counseling, and legal services. Public assistance includes funding for debris removal, emergency protective measures, roads and bridges, public buildings, water facilities, public utilities, and recreational areas. In today's webinar, we will be focusing on individual assistance offered to individuals and households. If you think your business, community institution, or neighborhood could benefit from public assistance, we will be communicating further about these resources in the coming weeks. So information is going to be constantly coming in, and we will continue to update you all and your local elected officials with the information that we receive. Next slide, please. So to access assistance, to apply for assistance, we need you to visit www.disasterassistance.gov or call 1-800-621-3362. And for the hearing and speech impaired, please dial 800-462-7585. Now I'm going to read that again because we have some people dialing in who do not see the slides on the screen, and I want to make sure they have all the information they need. So to apply for assistance, please visit www.disasterassistance.gov or call 1-800-621-3362. And for the hearing or speech impaired, please dial 800-462-7585. You can also download the FEMA app to submit your application for disaster assistance. FEMA is experiencing significant phone delays. So if possible, we encourage you to try applying online or through the FEMA app. My team can be in touch with you all to help with that process. But please, if there are extended phone delays, be in touch with our office so that we can provide support. My staff is going to go into further detail on the steps for applying for assistance and what you should have ready when you apply. As always, my office is here to help you navigate FEMA assistance. If you have any questions after this webinar, I encourage you to follow up with us by emailing my casework team at bowman.casework@mail.house.gov, and the team will provide phone numbers to call if you are more comfortable making a phone call as opposed to sending us an email. Let me just say this before I pass it on to actually one more slide, excuse me, sorry. So, you know, as many of you know, my office has been focusing on the issue of climate change from the very beginning. And what we're seeing now, because of climate change, we're seeing more severe storms and more consistent storms and more unpredictable storms. And what we're seeing, some are considering this is a new baseline for us, where this will continue to happen unless we address the issue of climate change by ending our dependency on fossil fuels. So climate change is here and it's not going anywhere. And we need substantial investment in our infrastructure to deal with the impacts of the climate crisis and to protect our neighbors and families from the destruction that's already here. Now, shortly after going into office, I met with a resident from Mamaroneck who told me this is something they've been fighting for 30 years. And it's not just Mamaroneck, it's in Rye, it's in Bronxville, it's in Scarsdale, it's in Mount Vernon, it's in Yonkers. I visited someone's home in Yonkers where the rain was so powerful, it literally wiped out half of their backyard. Half of their backyard fell to the bottom of the train tracks, the Metro North train tracks in their home. We saw parking lots where the gravel was completely destroyed. So it's here, and our infrastructure is over 100 years old. So we have to invest and rebuild. And that is why we're fighting so hard to make sure the infrastructure bill that we pass and the reconciliation bill that we pass meets the gravity of this moment. So we need Congress to act, to take the climate crisis very seriously. It would be crazy for members of Congress to see the videos and photos coming out of New York and New Jersey and think what we need to do is whittle down our investment in fighting climate change and building up our infrastructure. This underscores why we absolutely must pass a transformative investment in our infrastructure, as I mentioned. And let me say this, not since 2009 have Democrats held both houses of Congress and the White House. And we need to seize this historic opportunity, not squander it. And we need every single one of my colleagues to support a big infrastructure plan. Please go to the next slide, and I will now pass it on to the next panel member. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Congressman. Hi, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us this evening. My name is Faye, and I'm the Congressman's Legislative Director. And first, we just want to really emphasize, we recognize that this is an extremely stressful time, and that we are in a position where folks are going to have to fill out a lot of paperwork, and we know that it's overwhelming. There's a lot to navigate, but just to reiterate what the Congressman said, our office is here to help, and we're here to break it down as much as we can. We're not going to be able to get to everything tonight, but this is to help, with some materials, and we will, be available for any questions that come up. Our district director, Ashley, has been sharing some emails for you to submit any casework to our office, where we're going to be in touch with you on anything that you share with us. She also shared some helpful resources that will make sure you get in follow-up as well. So just to get into it, like the Congressman said, there are two main buckets of FEMA assistance that are now available: individual assistance and public assistance. And for tonight, we're just going to focus on the individual assistance. And individual assistance is for, there are a number of programs that fall under it. And what we want to focus on right now is the individuals and households program. And so that can look like direct money that goes straight to the applicant who filed for FEMA assistance. It can also look like services. And so just to go into a little more detail, that can look like rental assistance for renting alternative housing accommodations if you were displaced by the disaster. That was your primary residence that was impacted. Can also go towards lodging expense reimbursements if, for example, you had to go to a hotel. It can also includes home repair assistance to repair any owner-occupied disaster damage. You will need to provide verification that you're the owner, but some of that assistance can include coverage of utilities, residential structure damage that happened, and that includes your driveways as well. And it also includes replacement assistance to help homeowners replace primary residences in cases where it has been completely destroyed by the disaster. And we also have direct housing assistance. And so where there are cases where the housing resources are not available, FEMA will help with a multifamily lease and repair. They'll help with transportable temporary housing units and permanent housing construction. Something that we really want to make sure folks are aware of with individual and household assistance is that none of this is considered income. You won't need to declare it on your taxes as income. It will not impact your eligibility for any assistance from programs like Social Security, disability, or child care. So we just want to make sure folks don't feel as if they can't apply for assistance because they're worried about that. That will not be considered income, and it won't be held against you in any way if you apply and receive any FEMA assistance there. Next slide, please. Thank you. And so what we want to break it down in terms of eligibility. So the first thing that you will need to do is provide your insurance information or other forms of disaster assistance that you may have received that were showing that you went through your insurer, that you provided a claim, and even if you got some insurance coverage, that it didn't meet all of your disaster-caused needs. The second piece to eligibility is that there are 3 statuses that are considered eligible for FEMA assistance. 1 is if you are a US citizen, 2, if you are a non-citizen national, or 3, if you are a qualified immigrant. We really want to make sure folks are aware that if you do not fit one of those 3 eligibilities, that you can still get assistance that can come from if there is an individual in your household who does have a qualifying status. They can be listed as the applicant and you can be the co-applicant. Even if the person in your household who has a qualifying eligibility status is a child, they can be the lead applicant and you would be able to join as the co-applicant. And we want to emphasize that you would not need to disclose what your status is. You will also need to provide any information about necessary expenses that you need assistance on, and they will need to have been directly caused by the disaster. Next slide, please. So what we want to sort of walk you through are how you apply. There's 3 main ways, and the Congressman mentioned you can call, but there is a delay with the calls. And so as much as possible, we encourage you to either apply online by visiting www.disasterassistance.gov, or you can download the FEMA app. We also want to emphasize that FEMA has stood up some brick and mortar disaster recovery centers, and we can share the addresses. There are multiple that are around different communities that have been hit especially hard. And you can go to any one of these locations, the disaster recovery centers, and they are open daily from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. And they have people there who can help you through the application. They can help answer any questions that you have, and you can, if you don't want to deal with the website at all, you can go entirely through them. And so we want to make sure that folks are also aware of that. And what the information you'll need to provide is your phone number, your current and your pre-disaster address, in case those are different, your total household annual income, your social security number, if available, a general list of damages and losses, including any documentation of the damage. And if you are insured, you will need to provide the name of the insurance company, the agent, and the policy number, and bank routing number and account number for any direct deposit. Next slide, please. We also want everyone to be aware of and prepare themselves for the possibility that you could get a determination letter from FEMA that says that you are not eligible for assistance. And if you get a letter that says that you're not eligible, we strongly encourage you to make an appeal. And there's an appeal process. Oh, I'm so sorry. I think, did we get to the next slide? Thank you so much. So with the appeal process, we want to make sure that you do so as soon as possible. And we fully understand that if you get a letter that says you're not eligible, that it can be extremely disheartening and frustrating. And we understand that, that's not what you want to get in the mail. You don't want to get that notification. But we also want you to know that that's not the end of the road. We have an appeal process, and you should always appeal. And our office is here to help you. You can also go to the Disaster Recovery Center for an appeal. There are some pieces of information you'll have to provide. That's your name, your pre-disaster address, your current address, your signature, your phone number, the registration number, and the FEMA disaster declaration number. You will be able to upload your signed appeal letter to the same website where you applied for assistance in the first place, which is www.disasterassistance.gov. You can also mail it, and we'll make sure that the mailing address in full is available in our follow-up. We also just want to emphasize that you have 60 days from the time you get notification that you are ineligible. A lot of the time, they just need additional information. And so we really want to emphasize that you should always appeal if you get a determination letter that says you're ineligible. Next slide, please. Thank you. We also want to emphasize that you have access to disaster unemployment assistance. And so this provides financial assistance to individuals whose employment or self-employment has been lost or interrupted as a result of the major disaster declaration and who are not eligible for regular unemployment insurance benefits. Similar to how if you are applying for disaster assistance, you need to go through first your insurance. FEMA assistance, whether we're talking about disaster assistance or disaster unemployment assistance, is here to supplement, not to supplant or take the place of what might be covered by insurance or regular unemployment insurance in this case. And so the eligibility conditions for this include that you are generally available to unemployed workers or self-employed individuals who lived, worked, or were scheduled to work in the disaster area at the time of the disaster and due to the disaster are no longer employed, no longer have a place to work, or cannot reach the place of work, or cannot work due to damage to the place of work, or cannot work because of an injury caused by the disaster. And please know that New York State Department of Labor will be administering this assistance. And as more updates are available, we'll be making sure to keep constituents informed. Next slide, please. Thank you. There are other types of FEMA individual assistance. We really sort of touched on the individual and household program. Other forms of assistance include funeral assistance to cover the cost directly or indirectly related to a declared emergency or major disaster, medical and dental assistance, if the expenses required were caused by the disaster, childcare assistance, which is a one-time payment up to 8 cumulative weeks of childcare for a household's increased financial burden to care for children up to age 13 and under, or children up to age 21 with a disability. Disaster legal services, which provides free legal help to low-income disaster survivors. If you're not able to get adequate legal services for your disaster-related needs, this may be a good option available to you, as well as disaster case management. One thing that we want to emphasize with some of these additional resources is that you may be asked to apply for a small business loan. But these resources that we just listed, funeral assistance, medical and dental assistance, childcare, you will not need to do that and go through the small business loan application process. Next slide, please. We get this question a lot. Am I eligible even if I have insurance? The answer is yes, but it's very important that you contact your insurance agent and file your claim right away. And if your insurance does not cover many expenses, that is okay. Whatever it does cover, we will need to have documentation, and FEMA will be FEMA assistance would be available for what is not covered by your insurance. And we also strongly encourage you to not wait until your insurance settlement is established. You should apply for assistance or a low interest disaster loan from the Small Business Administration if you are referred to apply for one. And also want to clarify, if you do not have any insurance, you can still apply for disaster assistance. Next slide, please. We also get this question quite a bit. What if my car was damaged in the storm? You are eligible to get assistance for that. You may need to go first through the Small Business Administration to apply for a long-term loan, and they will be there to help eligible applicants with transportation losses. These loans can be used to replace or repair eligible vehicles damaged by a disaster. And if once you go through the SBA or Small Business Administration loan application, it may be found that you are not eligible for a loan and that you are directed to apply for assistance from FEMA. And that will be under the Other Needs Assistance Program, and that is limited to one vehicle. Next slide, please. Thank you. What if my small business was damaged in the storm? So there are two types of loans to help small businesses in the wake of a disaster. They are both from the Small Business Administration. The first is business physical disaster loans. Those are loans to businesses or private nonprofit organizations that have suffered physical damage as a result of a disaster. The second is the Economic Injury Disaster Loan. Sometimes it's called EIDL for short. If a small business or private nonprofit organization suffers substantial economic injury, which is the inability of a business to meet its obligations as they mature and to pay its ordinary and necessary operating expenses. Next slide, please. And this is a question we also get, which is not under individual assistance, but is very relevant for so many of our families. As the Congressman mentioned, a number of schools have had to delay their opening. So what if a school in your community was damaged in the storm? School buildings are eligible for assistance. This falls under public assistance. So it's not eligible for the assistance that we have been talking about, which is individual assistance. Our office is working with school leaders impacted across the district to assess damage and support requests for help. We're encouraging all school principals and nonprofit leaders to share this information with those that they support to help families get back on their feet as quickly as possible. We also want to make sure that So not only schools are eligible for public assistance for making any repairs to the learning environments, but they also are a great place to make sure that we're reaching all families, to make sure that they all know what they are eligible for, and to get started on the assistance application process. Next slide, please. So we, like the Congressman has said, we are here to help. We know that there are questions coming in, and we also know that we didn't cover everything, but we're so grateful to have panelists here tonight who are directly a part of the recovery work, and we owe so much to them, and we're going to turn it over to them, and we will be following up after with resources and following up on your casework. So thank you so very much.
Great. Thank you so much, Faye, for that abundance of information. I'm now going to turn it over to our panelists from the Red Cross to explain some Red Cross resources available.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm Stephanie Dunn-Ashley. First of all, I want to thank Congressman Bowman for inviting us to join you this evening and to share information about the Red Cross and our response to Hurricane Ida in our area. And I also want to offer our deepest condolences to all of the families who've tragically lost loved ones due to the storm. So we have activated our integrated condolence health team, mental health workers, spiritual health care professionals, and to support these families. So if you are someone who has lost a loved one, please do call 1-877-RED Cross and speak to a care team worker for that. So we do again send our deepest condolences. We wanted to give you some information on service centers that are open, both in New York City and Long Island, but obviously in Westchester. We have 2 sites. You can register for assistance. You can pick up a cleanup kit there as well. You can ask them to help you navigate through some of these things that have come up already this evening on the call. In Westchester, there are 2 locations. One is in Yonkers at the library at 1500 Central Park Avenue. And the second one is in Mamaroneck at 169 Mount Pleasant Avenue. We strongly encourage everyone to register for federal assistance. For all individuals and families who were displaced by the storm, who suffered damage to their home. We are working in partnership with County of Westchester to house these families. So if you need assistance, again, for any housing or to speak with a caseworker at the service center or to find some temporary housing, please do contact us. Again, 877-RED Cross. Let the operator know that you need a shelter or that you need additional assistance. As was said before, phone lines are very busy, but our teams are working on calling people back as quickly as they can. We do have hundreds and hundreds of people that we're sheltering every day and have been since the 1st of September. I want to emphasize that the Red Cross is here and we work with our community partners and advocates to reach people whose homes were devastated or destroyed, who sustained major damage. This includes people who may face barriers to accessing disaster assistance, such as people who don't speak English, are not American citizens, or have difficulty in any other way. The Red Cross services, including financial assistance, are available to all individuals regardless of their nationality, race, sexual orientation, religious beliefs, class, political opinions. We are a charity. We are not a government agency. And so people do not need to be American citizens to receive our help. And we want to emphasize that. As we mentioned before, we continue to work in partnership with all of our partners to help our region recover. We were really devastated and we want to make sure that we're there for everyone. Again, the number to call is 877-RED Cross. As programs become available, I will share them with Congressman Bowman and he will get them out to everyone in his constituency. We urge you to recover both physically and mentally in this instance, because it's a long recovery and Ida has taken a long time for us to get through it, and we are all here together for you. So if there's anything we can do from a Red Cross standpoint, we cannot do anything with small businesses. We are individuals and families, and each family's circumstance is unique, and time to get to know the family and assess the disaster and other documentation, we're here to help you with that. Some families will receive financial assistance from us immediately. Others will need to gather more information, but we will help you work through that process, and we will make sure that we have paired you up with whatever resources you may need to get through this process. If there's damage from the residents that's not your primary area, for example, an unfinished basement versus a main living space, there are those might be reasons why some people might be denied some assistance. But if we can assess that for you, we will make sure that we get you as much help as we possibly can. And then we encourage families to register for assistance, to have us help you. We're here for you, as I said, both in Yonkers as well as Mamaroneck, and we are here, again, all families. You do not need to be an American citizen to apply for help from the Red Cross. And I hope we can help. And again, we offer our deepest condolences to anyone who has lost a loved one during this storm.
Thank you very much, Stephanie. Next up, we are going to invite Dennis from Westchester County to speak about Westchester County resources. And a reminder to all of our panelists to please speak slowly for our Spanish interpretation. Thank you.
All right, good evening, everyone. I'm having a little trouble with my video, but there we go. So thanks very much, Congressman Bowman, for the invitation to speak about this important topic. Really terrific overview by his team of the FEMA Individual Assistance Program. That's going to be very helpful to a lot of folks in the community with respect to navigating this process, and it is a process. So your patience is going to be tested at times as you go through this process. However, stick with it. FEMA does have a number of programs that can help people in the community recover from disaster. So I would encourage you to apply and to digest as much of this information as you possibly can. So recovery from the storm is certainly going to be a long process, longer for some than others. Some people lost all their possessions. Some people lost vehicles. Some people lost their homes. The tragedy of people losing their lives during this storm. The opportunity to tour a number of impacted areas in Mamaroneck and other parts of the Sound Shore, and it's just heartbreaking to see what people are going through. I've been doing this a long time, so I remember the floods of 2007, as I'm sure many of you do. Tropical Storm Irene in 2011, Sandy in 2012, Isaias in 2020. So we're no stranger to disaster here in Westchester County. And we're a strong group and we're able to get through a lot. We've demonstrated that throughout the COVID-19 pandemic. And I have no doubt that as a community, we're going to come together and overcome this challenge as well. So shortly after the storm hit, it became clear that the impacts to residents and businesses throughout Westchester County, particularly in our southern towns, villages, and cities, was really extensive. Some of the most incredible rainfall that we've seen in recent memory. It became clear that a disaster declaration was a potential option for us with respect to covering expenses related to Ida. Governor Hochul, with the help of the congressional and Senate delegations from New York, did reach out to the federal government to assist, request that FEMA conduct that joint preliminary damage assessment with our state partners and county representatives to go out into the community and meet with folks and assess their damages. It became apparent very early on that we were going to meet the thresholds established by FEMA to achieve a major disaster declaration. This has happened quicker than I have ever seen before, to the credit of our state and federal partners. I've worked a lot of disasters, and this damage assessment was completed very quickly, and the declaration was received in what I believe to be record time, at least for Westchester County. So on a daily basis, us here in Westchester County government, through our health and human services related agencies, the Office of the County Executive, George Latimer, who has been extremely supportive of us and my team as we navigate this process and try to do what we can to support communities' immediate response and recovery efforts. We liaise with the state and FEMA daily through conference calls to learn as much as we can about the programs that are available through the FEMA Individual Assistance and U.S. Small Business Administration programs, so that we can provide that information through the County Exec's office to all of our other stakeholders who may benefit from those programs. As was mentioned by Stephanie from the Red Cross, we do have the disaster recovery centers here in Westchester County. We're very fortunate that we were able to achieve two mobile sites. While we have been working with a number of different agencies, we're very proud that New York State has showed up in force and provided a lot of different support to boots on the ground here in Yonkers and in Mamaroneck in particular. although those sites are not limited to residents of those communities. So if someone lives in Portchester or Greenberg or Larchmont or Mount Vernon or New Rochelle, they are more than welcome to go to those sites and meet with all of the representatives there. Our team from the County Department of Social Services is on location throughout the operating hours for both DRC locations. They've been very busy processing requests for housing assistance, for supplemental nutrition assistance benefits and other public programs that are available through DSS and New York State OTDA. We also have the Westchester County Department of Senior Programs, who's been liaising with local offices for the aging to make sure that our seniors are getting the appropriate nutrition assistance and other programs that are available to them, and helping them navigate this process through the paperwork, applying online, meeting with a FEMA representative to take them through this step by step. We also had the County Department of Community Mental Health, who had boots on the ground in some of our hardest hit areas just a day or two after the storm passed, to start meeting and counseling folks who survived this event. This was a very traumatic experience. I know from experience, I was flooded out of my apartment in 2007. I know how traumatic this can be for folks. And the counselors from DCMH have really done a tremendous job. And they've come out in force. And it's really been a real benefit to the community, working with some of our NGOs who are also doing similar work. The Red Cross has been a tremendous partner, as Stephanie mentioned, working with our Department of Social Services and the Office of the County Executive, George Latimer, to find options for individuals who are not able to return home, plugging them in with the appropriate resources. A lot of our community partners have really stepped up to the plate during the course of this event, and they are out there willing to help, whether it's a muck out program where we're doing dewatering, or we're helping people clear out their basements, or whether it's helping people navigate the FEMA individual assistance process. We're also learning a lot more about FEMA public assistance, as Faye mentioned earlier, is another program that's available to local governments, certain nonprofits, possibly houses of worship, and a number of other folks, as well as our small businesses that may need some additional assistance through the U.S. Small Business Administration loan programs. The DRCs, I'll just mention them again. Stephanie did provide the addresses, but just in case anybody did miss it, they are located at the Village of Mamaroneck, 169 Mount Pleasant Avenue in the Village of Mamaroneck. Parking is free. Everything is available in Spanish and English. That site is accessible to people with disabilities, and certainly folks are welcome to go to that site and meet with FEMA and other agencies that are posted there. We also have the Will Library location at 1500 Central Park Avenue in Yonkers. That is also a terrific site. I've visited both and met with the folks there, and they're really doing a tremendous job. It is possible that the locations and hours of those two sites may change, so I would certainly encourage you to stay in contact with Congressman Bowman's office, or the City of Yonkers, the Village of Mamaroneck, or the Westchester County website for any updates with respect to the operating hours of those sites, or if we do happen to move them. We are working cooperatively with FEMA to do some outreach in some other hard-hit communities as well. We know that this has been an event that has impacted a lot of folks throughout Westchester County, and we don't want to make anyone feel that they are being left out. We certainly are in contact with the local chief elected officials in those towns and villages and cities to make sure that we are answering all their questions that I'm sure they're receiving from their constituents, just as the Congressman's office is. Another resource that I'll mention, and then we'll pass it off to the next speaker, is the United Way 211 call center. If you are living, working in Westchester County, and you have a question about disaster relief, or you need to request additional assistance beyond what you think you're going to be able to get from your insurance carrier or FEMA, you can call 211 on your phone and be connected to a live operator, who will also refer you to other NGOs in the community that may be offering services, again, such as muck out and other types of services where you may not be able to find anywhere else. If you lost furniture, they may be able to connect you with a not-for-profit that is providing furniture, and so on and so forth. They've been great partners of ours in past disasters, particularly COVID-19. So I would encourage you to reach out to 211, and I'm sure that they could assist you in any way that they could. Thanks again for your time, and thank you, Congressman Bowman, for the opportunity.
Great, thank you very much. And then last, we'll pass it to our friends at New York City Office of Emergency Management.
Hi, good evening, and thank you, Congressman and his staff, for putting this event together, for inviting emergency management to participate in this resource fair virtually to provide information on what New York City is providing to anyone affected by the storm. First of all, we would like to acknowledge those that we have lost due to the storm and send our condolences to the families and the loved ones on behalf of the department and Commissioner Scrivani and myself. I would like to say that New York City have opened up a center right immediately after the storm to provide critical services to those affected. Since then, we have grown our footprint, and the center has been staffed with FEMA as well as state resources. So it is important that anyone that was affected either call 311 to receive the services and information, or they go to the centers to ensure that they're getting the help that they need, as the different multiple operations happening throughout the city of New York that you might be entitled to receive assistance from. The current center in the Bronx is located at the Hostel Community College in the East Academic Complex, located at 500 Grand Concourse. I know the center might be a little bit further out of where the Congressman district is, but anyone that needs assistance in getting transportation from or to the center can call 311 to schedule transportation. As part of the center, as part of the help that we've been providing at the center after yesterday, we have provided 2,225 households with assistance. Again, each case is different, so we encourage you to either call 311, go to the website that was posted in the chat, or visit one of the centers so you can actually talk with a representative about the different services that we provide. Just to give you an idea of some of the services that we're providing when it comes to housing at the centers, we have representative from American Red Cross providing services, for anyone that needs help with shelter, the Department of Housing Preservation, and the Department of Buildings. We also have business assistance for small businesses and throughout the small businesses through New York City and the Small Business Administration. We have food assistance through the Salvation Army. We have Catholic Charities providing assistance. We have the City Harvest. We also have public assistance benefit through the Human Resources Administration, the Office of Child and Family Services. We have Office of Temporary Disability Assistance, the Department for the Aging providing assistance as well. We have pet assistance as well through the American Society for Prevention and Cruelty to Animals. We have also American Care Centers providing services to pets. We have ID services through the Department of Motor Vehicle, and we also have the Mayor's Office of Immigrant Affairs. We also have mental health assistant and emotional spiritual assistant. We also have the Salvation Army, the Department of Health, the State Department of Health, and the New York State Disaster Interface Services. In addition to that, we have information and referrals to other organizations that are collaborating and providing services. We also have financial assistance through the Catholic Charities and the Department of Labor. Last but not least, we also provide financial assistance to the Department of Financial Services and the Metropolitan Council of Jewish Poverty. Again, it's a lot of services. We also providing help for those that need help with feeding assistance. So if you need any type of assistance, we recommend that you either call 311 or that you visit the website that was posted on the chat, or that you go to one of the center to make sure that you are getting the help that you need. As I mentioned, there's a lot of assistance the city is providing, and we want to make sure that the residents take advantage of all this assistance, and it's all centralized in one location. I'll stay until the end, so if you have any questions, I'll be able to answer them.
Great. Thank you very much to all of our panelists for providing that important information. I'll now invite all panelists to turn on their videos and join our Q&A portion. We've received a lot of questions and we won't be able to get to all of them tonight. We hope that the presentations covered a lot of your most burning questions, and we are documenting every question that comes in so that we can post answers on the Congressman's website. So please look there and we'll be in touch for further communications. Now I'm going to start our Q&A portion with a question for the Congressman. We've had people writing in saying, There is a lot of paperwork, and I'm already stressed out by all the relief programs I had to apply for last year. On top of this, I can't afford to take out another small business loan. What can you do to help?
Thank you, Ruthie, for that question. I want to just start by acknowledging the trauma that we all and you all have gone through over the past 18 months, dealing with the intersecting and overlapping crises of the past year. And too often, the burden falls on the individual struggling the most to figure out how to navigate it all. I want to thank people first for all of the mutual aid that I know that's happening throughout communities in both Westchester and the Bronx. People have really been helping each other out. But our office is here to help you navigate every aspect of this process. So if you live in Westchester, you can call our office at 202-225-2464. Once again, if you live in Westchester, that's 202-225-2464. And if you live in the Bronx, please call 718-530-7710. That's 718-530-7710. If you are more comfortable sending an email, please email us at bowman.casework@mail.house.gov. Once again, that's bowman.casework@mail.house.gov. And let me just say before we go to the next question, we agree that taking out another small business loan is preposterous. And we're going to do everything we can to make sure those loans are either forgivable or maybe grants can become available for the people out there who are trying to rebuild their lives. Because, many of you were at the end of a loan or done paying off a loan, and now you have to take out another one to keep going. That's just unacceptable for our office. So please be in touch with us. With everything happening, and we'll be there to work it out with you every step of the way and or pull in the resources we need to provide support. Thank you, Ruthie.
Great. Thank you, Congressman. The next question is, we have a few questions coming in about people having to first talk to their insurance company. So Faye, could you answer to clarify, if people have insurance, do they have to first call their insurance company? And if people don't have insurance, what is the first step they should take?
That's a really important question. Thank you for posing that. The first thing is, yes, if you have any insurance, we encourage you to submit a claim. And that means taking all documentation of damage that you have. Take photos, take video from multiple angles. If we're talking about a vehicle, make sure to capture the make, model, the license plate. So you do need to go through any insurance that you currently have. And then after that, we encourage you to apply for FEMA assistance. You don't need to wait until you hear back from insurance to already get your application with FEMA through. And then also, if you have no insurance, you are eligible for FEMA assistance. That is not held against you.
Thank you. And we'll stay on FEMA for 1 minute longer. We have another question from Catherine that says, do I need to wait for a FEMA inspector to come to my home before I start to rebuild? And is FEMA assistance means tested?
No one wants to take that question?
Sorry, who did you want to speak to that, Ruthie?
Sorry, let me clarify. That was for you, Faye, on FEMA specifically.
Okay. Yes, so sorry about that, everyone. So the question is, is it means tested? You will need to provide information about your annual income, but just know that you are eligible for assistance. They may ask that you apply first for a small business loan. The reason for that is they want to make sure that they're prioritizing folks who would not otherwise qualify for a loan, and know that they are evaluating if you would be able to afford payments on a low interest loan from the Small Business Administration over the lifetime of a loan. Sometimes it may just be that they need to have confirmation that you would not be able to afford that loan, and then they will direct you to apply for direct FEMA assistance.
Great, thank you, Faye. And now we have a question for each of our panelists, which is, within the resources that you are providing, what types of turnaround times are you seeing? How quickly can people get assistance if they call your agency or your government?
I know, and I'll defer to our panelists here who are the experts on that, but just know it's very difficult to give an exact answer. It's very case specific. So it may be that once you apply, that FEMA needs additional information. It may be that you may need to apply for a small business loan first. And if you get denied for the small business loan, then apply for direct FEMA assistance. So we just want to make sure that folks know it will be very case specific depending on your situation.
I would agree with Faye. You have to definitely make sure that you are patient. There's a lot of people out there that are in the same situation, similar, a little worse, a little better, but patience is a virtue, and we will get to you. We will make sure that we are, anyone who contacts us will be contacted. We will come out to see you. We will help you, but it is a case-by-case basis on not only the area in which you are, but also how many cases we have pending so far. So, but we will get to you, and we won't forget about you.
And this is Dennis in Westchester. I'll just add to what Stephanie was saying, that, it's important to go, if you are going to visit the DRC or you're going to sit down at your computer and apply at disasterassistance.gov, that you be prepared, that you do a little research in advance to see what kind of documents you should compile before you make the phone call. And I'll also mention that the wait times at the disaster recovery centers at both Yonkers and Mamaroneck have been very manageable. So if you are thinking about going there, we have not been experiencing extremely long wait times there. So I would encourage you to do that if you do in fact want to meet with someone from FEMA, the SBA, or any one of our county or state agencies.
Hi, this is Jokarina from Emergency Management, and I will echo the same from New York City. We encourage everyone to either call 311 to get information on what documents is needed in case you want to go to the center and get assistance from FEMA. It is provided as well, so make sure that you know in advance what documents is needed, so like that it will make the process a little bit easier when you're applying. In addition to that, we have our service centers. If you need any language capability, we're able to provide that as well. So, feel free to just walk into the service center. There's no waiting so far we know. So please make sure you utilize those services that are there for you.
Great, thank you all very much. And we're going to just take one more question live, which we have a few that are similar, and they're about flood mitigation. So one question is, what will areas such as Scarsdale need to do to work to resolve repeated flooding conditions? And we have a similar question about resolving the old infrastructure in the Bronx that clearly can no longer support these unprecedented storm weather events. So if you could just speak for a minute about what your agency is doing to support this, starting with Yogarina.
Thank you. That's a great question. So today, Commissioner Scrivani and other commissioner from New York City were testifying from the City Council. And one of the things that he's mentioned is that we have created since the storm, and due to how many different, rainstorm we'll be getting through the city, we have established a severe weather task force, which will address a lot of the issues that, unfortunately, are created due to the heavy amount of rain that we are getting lately through the city. And we're working with different city agencies as well to address and mitigate any other issues that have been presented, such as, the drainage of catch basin, in addition to activate and be more severe when it comes to activating different plans that triggered, other agencies to respond in advance prior to any other storm.
Thank you, Stephanie. Is there anything you want to add?
Well, from the Red Cross standpoint, I would say, obviously, we're not a government organization or agency, but we do have preparedness seminars and preparedness programs that you can take to learn how to do what is necessary for your home, your apartment, your area, that will help you providing a go kit, whatever may need to happen specifically to your area. And I would encourage everyone to take preparedness programs and make sure that you encourage your neighbors to do that, your family members, and don't forget about your pets.
And certainly here in Westchester County, hazard mitigation is a very hot topic, has been for a number of years. We're no stranger to flooding and natural hazards here in the county, as you all know. Using a grant administered by the state of New York, a federal grant, we are updating our comprehensive hazard mitigation plan here in Westchester County, which will involve all towns, villages, and cities countywide. It's a big project. We hope to have it wrapped up by the end of this year, and that plan will help us update our hazard and vulnerability analysis, do some important work with our local partners to identify some of those important projects that could better reduce the risk and impact the impact that we may experience from future events such as flooding and coastal storms, and also better inform our grant applications. So when we're going after state and federal funds, we have this plan in our back pocket where this issue has been thoroughly studied and we're able to approach it from that perspective. So we would encourage you to visit westchestergov.com and track the progress of that plan during the process, and during the public comment period, feel free to add your thoughts.
Great, thank you. And we'll close with any answers you have to that, Congressman, and any closing remarks you want to provide.
No answers, no additional answers at this time. I just wanted to thank all of the panelists for joining us this evening. Thank you to our team for putting this together, and thank you to everyone for tuning in. This webinar is going to live on social media, so anyone you know that hasn't seen it, please share it with them. Also, if you want to rewatch something or go back and review, it'll be there for you to do so. And once again, I just want to share these two very important numbers. If you want to reach out to our office about anything or any support you need as you go through this difficult time, those numbers are, if you live in Westchester, 202-225-2464. And if you live in the Bronx, 718-530-7710. Continue to support each other, continue to love each other, and we will be there to support you every step of the way. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Congressman.